The year is 2012. I am 5 years old. My uncle had gifted me a GameCube for my birthday a few months earlier, and I, someone who'd never played a video game outside of some obscure Flash games on my grandmother's laptop, was excited. Despite the gift, the GameCube hadn't come with any games, so my father decided to take me to a nearby Blockbuster and see if they had anything. As we stepped into the store, my eyes instantly fell upon a shelf containing video games. Many games from many different franchises, all with their own unique covers that could easily catch the eye. But my eyes fell upon one video game case in particular, one that would change my life forever. That game was Metroid Prime. Now, despite my attention being grabbed by the suit of armor I would later come to know as the Varia suit, my father took one look at the back of the case and decided that perhaps Metroid Prime would be a bit tough for a 5-year-old child. So, my father picked up a different game as well, one that was a bit more fitting for 5-year-old me. He picked it up because he remembered playing earlier titles in the same franchise when he was younger. That game was Sonic Adventure DX was the second video game I'd ever played, and has heavily shaped my interest both at the time and the interests I have today. As soon as my eyes laid upon that CGI intro, I was hooked. I'd spent countless hours replaying Emerald Coast and Windy Valley, blasting through the roller coasters in Twinkle Park and rocketing down the skyscrapers in Speed Highway, and when I got bored of playing as Sonic, I'd switch to one of the other characters. I'd soar through the clouds as Tails, hunt the Master Emerald shards as Knuckles, protect a little birdie from Eggman as Amy, rescue the E100 series as Gamma, and go fishing as Big the Cat. This game was important to me, and it still is to this day. It introduced me to Sonic the Hedgehog, and it got me into drawing, writing, and doing art. It was so influential that if I had never played it, I wouldn't be where I am today. But over time, I felt my interest in Sonic as a franchise start to fade. I'd gotten into other game series, mainly the Halo and Mega Man franchises. I would look at the mature story of the Mega Man Zero games, or the invigorating combat loop and presentation of the Halo titles, and then I'd compare them to the dinky game about a blue hedgehog and scoff. In my eyes at the time, Sonic was for children, and I, being a very mature 10-year-old, was only interested in the most gritty and mature franchises. That was, until the year 2017, when things would change, and those thoughts would be washed away forever. The trailer for Sonic Forces flipped some switch deep inside the folds of my brain and got me thoroughly hyped. I don't think there's been a game before or since that has gotten me this thoroughly excited. I would patiently wait for every trailer, I'd read every article, I'd watch theory videos, I'd join internet forums and discuss what I thought the game was going to be about, and when the release day finally came, and when I finally got my own copy, I was stoked. I remember viciously tearing through the plastic wrap, yanking the disc out of the case and slamming it into my Xbox so violently that I'm surprised it didn't break. And then, I waited patiently for 20 minutes while the game was installed. But once that was done, I was ready. I grabbed my controller, selected New Game, chose Normal Mode because there was no easy option, and began to play. Now, my first playthrough of Sonic Forces took far longer than most people's, as at the time my parents had a strict 30 minutes of video games a day policy. So I only got to play through the game in small chunks, and as I was horrible at video games, my time was extended even further. If I am remembering correctly, it took me about 2 weeks to beat Sonic Forces. But as I sat there, staring at the credits rolling over the screen, I felt something I hadn't felt since I'd beaten Sonic Story and Sonic Adventure all those years ago. I felt a sense of longing. I knew that I'd never be able to experience this game for the first time ever again, and that made me profoundly sad. Because in my eyes, at the time, Sonic Forces was the best video game I'd ever played. I wanted more, nay, I needed more. My life became consumed by Sonic. I would write, draw, roleplay, create OCs, buy up as many of the games as I could, obtain all the merchandise I could find, put Sonic games on my Christmas and birthday lists every year. I loved Sonic. I loved experiencing the grand worlds, the amazing characters, the groundbreaking games. And while not every game was groundbreaking, or even all that good, I can still look and find something great about every Sonic game. After a while, I eventually decided that, hey, I like Sonic. That means it's time for me to find other people on the internet that like Sonic too. And I signed myself up for possibly the worst social media site known to humankind, Amino. While I won't get into the specifics of this god-awful app, I will say that for me personally, it was generally a passable experience. Good with the bad, so to speak. I met some nice people, and I met some not-so-nice people. It did, however, expose me to the world of Sonic fan art. I would see these incredible artists posting incredible things, and that would inspire me to continue to do art, always trying to improve my craft. Over time, though, Amino started to fade, struggling to keep members online and engage with one another. So I jumped ship, moving on to other social media sites such as Twitter and Discord. And it was in those communities that I met some of my best friends, who I'm mostly still friends with today. Of course, some friendships faded, people change, interests change, and that is perfectly fine. I'd rather see someone pursue their passions instead of being trapped in a single interest for their whole life. Speaking of interests, Sonic also allowed me to get interested in other properties like Freedom Planet, and I got to meet wonderful people in those fandoms, and their interests got me invested into other properties. It was a cycle that would just keep going and going. What I'm trying to say is that Sonic the Hedgehog acted as this springboard for me, allowing me to connect with amazing people and get invested in worlds that I had no clue even existed. And I love Sonic the Hedgehog for that. So I would like to thank everybody who I've interacted with, even if our interactions weren't as pleasant as I wish they could have been. Because all of those interactions, every conversation I've had, has gotten me to this point in time. So thank you. I'm not quite sure what my next project will be. I struggle with sitting down and writing scripts, so bleh. However, I'm kind of flip-flopping on whether or not I should do a video essay on Sonic Forces. I'd like to explain my thoughts and feelings on the game, and explain why I love it so much. It's an intensely important game for me, and I love it dearly. But I suppose that's all for now. Thank you.